Assalamu alaikum everybody, welcome back. I'm Amuna Sayyed, your science teacher. This is your science book, Science 2, Oxford Science, and I'm going to present lesson number 2 of week 4. So the unit 4, transport in plants, and the topics in discussion is transport system. So in our previous class, we have discussed about the transport in plants can occur at three levels. They can be, and there are two types of transport. It can be passive and active transport, and they are further divided into these different processes. So these are the learning objective of today's lesson. We will discuss the function of vascular tissues and we will discuss the structure of vascular tissues. But before moving in towards the main contents of today's lesson, let's recall on photosynthesis. Here you can see in the process of photosynthesis, we need carbon dioxide and water, and the reaction carried out in the presence of sunlight, from where we get energy, and as a result, the plant would use oxygen that is being released in the environment, and glucose is also formed. So, and the main important component for the process of photosynthesis is the chlorophyll that is present in the green leaf. So, all the process of photosynthesis is basically taking place here. Okay. So let's discuss the transport system in detail, and the transport tissues includes the xylem and the phloem. Here are two types of transport system. The first one is xylem vessels and the second is phloem vessels. Here you can see the xylem vessels present here and they are colored or marked orange, and these are the phloem vessels that are light, you can say light peach color. Yes, it's peach color. Okay, so these are the two types of transport systems in plants. Let's discuss the function of xylem vessels first. So as you all are well familiar, like other living organisms, plants also need nutrients and oxygens, like we humans need different nutrients, like we need oxygen to be transported to every part of the cell, to every parts of our body. We need dissolved food to be transferred or to be transported, and we transport heat also to every part of the body. So similarly, plant cells are also living organisms, so they also need some sort of transport system to transport water and nutrients. So here, the xylem vessels, which are very important for the transportation of water and minerals from the roots to all other parts. If we talk about the structure of xylem vessels, these are basically a long, hollow, continuous tubes that carry water, and they also carry the dissolved minerals. And they take up water from the root and then they finally transport water to every part of the plant. And they contain a very tough substance which is called lignin, and the lignin here is to provide support. Here you can see the magnifying view of a leaf. Okay, you can see there is a xylem vessel, and xylem vessel is meant for the transportation of water molecules. So here you can see the transport of water molecules that is occurring through the xylem vessels, and there are also the air spaces in the leaves as well. There must be guard cells and stoma as well. So this is what the function of xylem vessels are. So they transport water molecules, and this is the tube that is responsible for the transportation of water. Talking about the phloem vessel, which is responsible for the transport of food and the nutrients to all parts of the plants, and they transport sugars, which includes sucrose and amino acids that are made in leaves, from where they need to be transported to wherever they are used or where they need to be stored. Phloem tubes are living cells, and they have some end tube they have some ends with the pores, which are basically the sieve plate. Okay, and all cell contents have disappeared except the cytoplasm. The phloem cells have companion cells near them. So you should know that companion cells are the specialized parenchyma cells in the phloem tissue of the flowering plants, and they are nucleated living cells. They have several organelles like ribosomes, plastids, and mitochondria. Their nuclei and nucleoli are relatively large, and they can be indication that they are metabolically active. The companion cell is a type of cell that is found within the phloem of flowering plants that can be angiosperms, and each companion cell is usually closely related with the sieve elements. So the function of companion cell is really uncertain, although we see it to regulate the activity of the sieve elements and to take part in loading and unloading sugar into the sieve elements, but still its function is uncertain. Here you can see the sieve plate, a companion cell with a dense cytoplasm and a sieve tube. So this is another example of the phloem tissue, and which is having a parenchyma cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, and plasmodesmata. Okay, so this is how the xylem tissues and phloem tissues look like. So here the plasmodesmata, which is a narrow thread of cytoplasm, and basically they passes through the cell walls of the adjacent plant cells, and they allows the communication between them. So that's why the plasmodesmata are very important. They allow the communication between cells. Let's talk about the difference between both tissues. So if we talk about the xylem tissues, they are found deeper in the stem tissues, and they transport water, sap, and minerals, and move substances up the stem using passive transport, which doesn't require any sort of energy, which only requires a simple diffusion. And they contain xylem parenchymal cells and tracheiid cells. Tracheiid cells होते हैं. This is for the purpose of transportation of water molecules, and you know their cells are star shaped. And phloem cells, which are found in the outer edges of the stem, and the purpose of phloem is to transport the nutrients and the food material. So they transport sugars and amino acids that have been produced there, and they move substances up and down the stem via active transport. So as they are doing this transportation by active transport system, so they requires energy. They also contain the sieve tube cells and the companion cells and phloem parenchymal cells, and their cells are not star shaped. So these are some of the differences between the xylem vessels and the phloem vessels. Here we can see the difference between their cells, and this is the magnifying image, and this is the monocot stem and dicot stem. So there are different sclerenchyma cells and vascular bundles, crown tissues. But for now, you need to understand what are the phloem and xylem tissues, and together they are called vascular bundles. Later, these things will be discussed in the higher classes. So this is the visual explanation, and here is the link. You need to click on the link and enjoy the transport in plants. There is an interesting video for you guys. And for assignment purpose, you need to write down the difference between xylem and phloem in your notebook. And for the answer, you will look and go to the slide number 18 and simply write down the difference between xylem and phloem the way I wrote. Okay. So in today's lesson, we have covered the function of vascular tissues and their structure, and then we discussed the difference between both tissues, like what is the difference between xylem and phloem. I hope you understand the lecture. The lecture was quite easy, and I hope you understand. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.